Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, y'all are having a wonderful day today. So, when it comes down to it, I thought that I would review this little video and talk about the UFC 282 fight card yesterday, or at least talk about one of the certain fights that I thought was very particularly interesting, as a lot of people also believe that it was very interesting. But if you are an avid watcher of the UFC, such as myself, and I'm not going to say that I'm necessarily an expert in every category when it comes to mixed martial arts. I'm a little bit more of a boxing analyzer myself. But at the end of the day, I know at least enough, in my opinion, to see when I thought a fighter ended up winning a fight or losing a fight. But I've been watching the UFC now for several years. Anyways, Paddy the Baddy Pimblet, of course, for those of you that know him, he's been a rising star pretty much within all the mixed martial arts for the past couple of years. He is a favorite of Dana White. And I think the reason why he is a favorite of Dana White is because he looks at Paddy as basically being, at least wanting him to be the next Conor McGregor. And I think he knows that Conor McGregor, that he's pretty much done. Conor McGregor, in my opinion, is pretty much washed. I don't think that he's ever going to have a chance at a championship ever again. So he is looking overall for that new, charismatic, overall, decently great fighter like a Conor McGregor. Do I believe that Paddy the Baddy Pimblet, do I believe that he will ever be a Conor McGregor? At least what I've seen of Conor McGregor at his absolute peak? No, I don't. When I take a look at Paddy the Baddy Pimblet, I think that he's somewhat talented, but I also think that he's way too flawed. And to be quite honest with you, a lot of people, including myself, yesterday in that fight against Jared, whatever his name was, a lot of people thought that he lost. Not only did I think that Paddy the Baddy lost, I thought that he personally lost every single round. I really did not see a round that I really could give Paddy. Now, of course, Paddy ended up winning, I believe, by unanimous decision on all the judges' scorecards, 2 rounds to 1. And in my opinion, there is no way that overall that some of those judges were not paid off by Dana White. It just is what it is. And I get some people sometimes when I commentate on the UFC. I said this about the Petr Yan and Sugar Sean O'Malley fight, another fight that I thought was a very poor decision. And I had some people say, oh, that's a brain dead take. What are you talking about? Dana White's not involved with the decisions. Of course he is, at least at certain times. That's not me saying that every single fight is fixed. I'm not overall going to allege that. But when you have certain presidents of a fight promotion or certain promoters, do you think all in all that they've just never dealt their hands overall into paying off a judge or paying off a referee? Of course Dana White has done that. It just is what it is. He's paid overall certain officials off overall to have certain stars rise up and out of the UFC. Because there's no way that you're going to tell me that all three of those judges yesterday, with a certain amount of logic and objectivity, actually believe that Paddy ended up winning that fight. Because in my opinion, he didn't really even win a single round. The first round very clearly I thought went to Jared. The second round maybe because of Paddy's overall late surge in the second round. Maybe you can debate that Paddy Pimblet ended up winning that round. But the third round he did absolutely nothing. But Dana White overall is going to talk about it. Let's see what he has to say.
There's a lot of them.
All right, so you're in a good mood. I mean, I don't know that everybody is right now. Kind of a wild ending, right? I guess give us your thoughts on the main event.
What are you going to do? I think the main event was terrible. What are you going to do?
What about the scoring?
I can't necessarily comment necessarily on the main event, but from what I heard and from what I saw, it looked like Ankalaev more than likely probably should have won the last 3 rounds. But I don't really have a huge problem with the draw because apparently from what I heard, Jan was pretty dominant within the first 2 rounds. So who knows, maybe one of those rounds could have been a 10-8. But we'll see overall what ends up happening. But who would have I given it to, at least from what I've seen? And once again, I would have to rewatch the fight. Probably Ankalaev.
But itself.
We've seen this. This is nothing new. It's like the Paddy Pimblet fight. It's like Gordon had a horrible game plan going into that third round. You think you won the first 2 rounds? With the judges? I mean, how do you know that? Why go in there?
You know, there's always a certain amount of UFC fans or MMA fans that always say, oh, well, grappling really only counts if you do a certain amount of damage. Well, you can argue that all you want to, but if you have your opponent up against the cage in a clinch or on the ground the whole entire time, and they basically are in a disadvantageous situation, unless the other person is fighting off their back very well, like maybe what a Conor McGregor did against Chad Mendes or something like that, you really can't give them the round. And Paddy was not able to get off anything, at least from what I remember, in the third round. Jared had him completely tied down. I really have no idea overall, like I said, unless there was some money involved or Dana overall said something to those judges. I really have no idea how Paddy ended up fairly winning that fight. There's no way.
Throw away the third round and not go in and fight your ass off and try to win. If you think you know,
he did fight his ass off, Dana White. He just grappled him. Once again, I always get some of these brain dead MMA or UFC fans, and don't get me wrong. Once again, I'm not necessarily I'm not an expert UFC fighter or a UFC commentator necessarily. I don't know every single little aspect about mixed martial arts overall, but I have a little bit of a background in them, and I know overall who wins a fight and who doesn't. There's no way overall that Paddy Pimblet ended up winning that fight yesterday. It really was not even that particularly close. The first round, now, the Teofimo Lopez and Sandor Martin fight, a lot of people yesterday believed that that was personally a robbery. And after rewatching it, I can see maybe why some people would say that. I overall, say it could go either way. But Sandor Martin, when you take a look at him yesterday, a big part of the reason why he lost a certain amount of rounds, even when he was hitting Teo a little bit more cleanly, is because he would only land about 3 to 4 decent punches per round, at least when it came to certain power punches, and Teo usually was busier. This dude overall against Paddy the Baddy Pimblet, I mean, certain people tried to argue that Paddy was busier, but this guy was busy enough to the point to where he clearly was hitting Paddy very well enough. I mean, in that first round, he had to have landed about 10 to 15 decent power shots that completely affected Paddy, and I didn't see Paddy really land a certain punch, in my opinion, that landed flush once. So there's no way he won the first round. The second round, in my opinion, I don't think that he won either, but maybe because of the late surge, you can argue it. And then in the third round, Jared ends up completely dominating him on the ground and also up against the clinch, and Paddy is not able to do anything. He's really not able to land any strikes. He's not able to really land that many knees. He's really not able to do anything. I'm sorry, but there's no way that Paddy ended up winning that fight.
Oh, who won what round or whatever, you're crazy. I've been doing this for 23 years. I have no fucking idea what those guys are going to do or what they're going to say. So
I don't really believe you, Dana White, but hey, it is what it is. And once again, that's not me saying that he has a hand in every decision, but do I believe that he had a hand in the Paddy Pimblet decision? 100%, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Did you have anybody winning in the main event? Did you have it?
I don't even know. I started to zone out after like fucking 3 rounds, so, I heard that Ankalaev is upset and whatever. What do you want me to do? You got beat up the first 2 rounds and you took him to the ground. You started. What are you gonna do?
But I guess the question is, what do you do now, right? I mean, you get the vacant title, a split.
You do Glover versus Jamal Hill in Brazil for the vacant title.
Is that done?
Done.
Thanks for breaking some news there.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Right.
That's what I do.
And then, you're always so giving, especially on fight night.
That's me.
Matchmaking on fight night.
It's Christmas.
And I guess I did want to ask you about what you thought about the Paddy Pimblet score as well, but there's a lot of kind of going back and forth on that one as well.
The same thing. You know what I mean? I thought that Jared Gordon's game plan in the third round was horrible. He felt like he had the first 2 rounds, and he went in and pushed him against the fence. And I got to go after the ref, too. A big fight, co-main event, third round, crowd's going crazy, and you're going to let him stand against the fence the entire fight? But
so basically, Dana, you're pissed off because Paddy Pimblet overall was not able to control overall the other guy with his grappling. Paddy Pimblet, in my opinion, he's not really going to last that long. Now, he's going to overall be somewhat protected, pretty much like a Sugar Sean O'Malley has been. That's why Sugar Sean O'Malley, he was not really put in there with any decent opponents until Petr Yan. And in my opinion, he did not win that fight. But it is what it is. But Paddy is not really going to be facing a lot of the top 15 or top 10 guys. And to be honest with you, a lot of the guys within the 155-pound division, I'm not really even quite sure if Paddy can defeat the top 15 guys. It just is what it is. I would have to remember who's there. But that one dude yesterday, excuse me, I believe who ended up beating that dude in the camo shorts, that one tattooed guy, that guy that Paddy keeps mouthing off to, then I better keep that dude away from Paddy. Because he, I mean, to put it overall, not to mince words, he'll probably fuck Paddy up. So it is what it is. Anyway.
These are these things that happen. What are you going to do? Horrible game plan by Gordon. The ref let it happen, and he threw the fight away. He was doing great in that fight. He should have fought the third round.
But anyways, that's really about it for the video. I just thought that I would review that. But like I said, do I believe that Dana had a hand in that decision? 100%, no doubt about it. Once again, certain people, they get after me for saying that, but I don't think that there's any doubt about it. When you talk about a certain amount of boxing promoters or even fight promoters, whether we're talking about Oscar De La Hoya or Don King or Bob Arum or pretty much anyone out there, Dana White, excuse me, there's once upon a time, sooner or later when it comes down to it, to where they have their hand overall in trying to protect, one of their gold gooses. It just is what it is. But in my opinion, Paddy did not win the fight. I thought it was a very poor decision. And in my opinion, what would I have scored it? I probably would have scored it about 3-0. But I don't think that Paddy, in my opinion, I don't think all in all, and once again, this is not me hating on him whatsoever. I do not believe that he will ever be a UFC champion. When I take a look at him, his striking is way too sloppy. His chin is way, way, way too high in the air. He's way too vulnerable to get hit. And on top of that, a lot of his punches are very advertised. They're not really that crisp. They're not really that straight. So when he really fights in the ring with a fighter that really knows what he's doing, he's pretty much gonna get minced up. It just is what it is. That's just my personal opinion. Maybe he can get a little bit better. I don't know. Excuse me. But with his striking, when it comes down to it, I just see a lot of flaws. I think he's way too hittable. I think he's way too reckless. I think overall that his chin is way too high in the air. I think that he swings a lot of punches overall that overall, in my opinion, are not heavily accurate and are very much advertised. And eventually, one of these days, he is going to get clocked, especially if he gets in the ring, I think, with a real deal opponent. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens next. But anyways, that's really about it for today. I just thought that I would comment on that. But we'll see what happens with Mr. Paddy Pimblet. Best of luck to him. I do not believe that he won the fight, but we'll see what happens. Anyways, that's really about it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you all later.